All right, everybody. Welcome back to another edition to Deep in the Count. Really excited about today. We're joined by two of our captains on the New Paltz baseball team. Our second baseman, sophomore Michael Boccarossa. Michael, give everybody a wave.
What's up, guys?
And fifth-year senior captain, two-time captain. He was a captain last year. And Anthony Amoroso, right-handed pitcher. Anthony, give everybody a shake out there. So just to let everybody know what we got today, the players are going to interview me. And I don't know what the questions are, so this ought to be really, really fun for everybody. Again, our whole thing with trying to do these Deep in the Count episodes is to give our supporters and fans and people interested in New Paltz baseball a behind-the-scenes look at what life is like, for our players, what's going on in the program, and how we're trying to, develop this program to be, a contender not only in the SUNY, the New York region, but hopefully over time to compete at the national level. So without further ado, we're going to kind of get into it right now. I believe the first question is going to be coming from Boca. So feel free, Mike.
All right, Coach. So my first question was, over your 15-year college coaching career, what coaches or mentors have been the most influential in developing your coach philosophies?
All right, man. That's a pretty mature question out of you, big guy. So listen, I mean, I've been able to kind of do this for a while now. Really, really fortunate that I get to do something that, I'm really passionate about and I love and kind of gets the competitive juices going and stuff like that. But, one of the first guys that comes to mind is Jerry Myers. Coach Myers gave me my first start when I was at Old Dominion as a volunteer back in the fall of, I believe, 2005. And Jerry came from the University of South Carolina. He was a pitching coach there, played in a couple College World Series before he took over at Old Dominion. And I was there for 2 years, working with him, and Jerry and I, had a great working relationship and bond. I think as a first-time coach, you kind of go into it thinking you have an idea of what's going on, and you quickly realize that you don't. But, so Jerry was huge and instrumental for me. He's just a tireless worker, one of the best pitching coaches in the entire country, coached for Team USA. So definitely, Coach Myers is a guy that, I give a lot of credit to where I am now. But, I mean, there are a lot of others. I mean, I think Rick Robinson, down at Young Harris instilled in me, a tremendous, work ethic, a great recruiting background, and Rick was a huge disciplinarian, so kind of learning how to hold the players accountable, but still being able to put our team in a position to be competitive. I mean, at Young Harris as a junior college, we're one of the best, junior colleges in the country, and we send guys to Georgia and Florida, Virginia, and a lot of high caliber ACC, SEC programs. But, a guy that I didn't work for that, has been a huge mentor for me, to where I could bounce some ideas off of is Brian O'Connor at the University of Virginia. Just, a consummate professional. Anytime that I had questions early in my career or working camp up there, a guy that, really gave back to the younger coaches. So, those three guys are guys that kind of come off the mind. But, Jeff Messer at Slippery Rock is a tremendous, a tremendously successful coach and very positive. So I learned, to try to be more positive from working with him. And then, of course, Chris Traz here in the Hudson Valley at Marist, but Chris Francis at Virginia Wesleyan, who's one of my best friends, one of the guys that I think is one of the best pitching minds in the country at the Division III level. So, a lot of guys I've worked for that, kind of shaped the philosophies that I have, and the showed me the ability to develop a championship caliber program. So yeah, great question.
Yeah, that was a great answer.
All right, Coach. So I got one for you. So having coached 3 current big leaguers in Dan Hudson, Kevin McCarthy, and Matt Adams, how have the players shaped your coaching style?
I mean, I think players, always shape the dynamic of what we're doing within a program. I mean, kind of like I alluded to earlier with Boca is, when I was a really, really green assistant coach at Old Dominion. I got a chance to coach the outfielders, and I was pretty fortunate to coach a group of guys that had a lot of college playing experience, and Jimmy Miles and Mike Zom, 2 guys that kind of come to mind that, I learned right along with them sometimes, and they kind of made me, a better coach because they were so prepared and they had so much experience, coming from very successful junior college programs that, I had to be prepared in practice to be able to coach them to allow them to get better, especially on the defensive side of things. But Huddy was on that team. I used to catch Huddy's bullpens on Fridays because our catchers had class, and so I strap on the equipment and get back there. It's always nice having freaking 94 thrown at you, but seeing those guys and how much dedication it takes to be really, really good at this sport. I think Matt Adams, as a hitter, was probably one of the most competitive hitters that I coached, to where, he challenged me every day to be good so he could be better. But even like competition drills that we would do at Slippery Rock, over the course of the winter and skilled groups and stuff like that. I mean, when there was a chance where a guy could beat Matt in a tee contest or line drive contest, I mean, that guy was just supremely competitive. So, I think those things about, when you're developing, high caliber players, whether they're a big league player, like Kevin McCarthy was when he was at Marist. I mean, Kevin, was virtually unknown as a freshman coming into Marist. And then, by his junior year, I believe he was like a 5th rounder or something like that. And now he's in the big leagues. But, those guys are special. But there's a lot of special guys that unfortunately don't get a chance to get drafted. But, I think the biggest thing with players like that is their competitive nature and their drive to prepare for success. Whether it was those 3 guys that you mentioned that are in the big leagues, or a Zach Shank, who was, our shortstop at Marist, who made it up to AAA, to the players that I coached, a young Harris that played in the ACC at Wake Forest or at Georgia or something like that. It's just, their relentless commitment to, taking their opportunities to be good, and really, excelling at that. I think is one thing that I take from the players. And the good players want to be coached hard. The good players want to excel. The good players hold themselves accountable, because they know that, as they go, we go. So when you can get, those really special players to get everybody else around them bought into the process, it makes our job as coaches that much easier.
All right, awesome.
All right, Coach, we got another one for you here.
Yeah, lay it on me.
What have been some memorable moments during your career? Like any cool stories you got? I don't know, 15 years is a long time. So what do you got?
Oh, thanks. I'm showing my age. Is that what you're telling me?
I'm only 20.
No, you're right. When I started coaching, you were 5. So, I'm getting up there. So, no, man, I mean, there's been a lot. I mean, there's, I guess some things that kind of come to mind, some good, some bad. I remember, I think it was, it was my first. It was my first year at Old Dominion. I mean, we were a good club. I think we were a little bit, underrated kind of coming into the season because we had so many new players, junior college players. Because when Jerry, took the program over with, Ryan Morris, and then Nate and I, other two assistants came in at the same time. But Jerry and Ryan, had a full year to kind of recruit, and they, kind of flipped a bunch of things and brought in some junior college players from all over the country. So nobody really knew what we were capable of. We started winning some games in March, and things are clicking and things are going good. And then, 1 week turns into 2 weeks and you haven't lost a game. And then 2 weeks turns into 3 weeks and you haven't lost a game. And then you go play the Norfolk Tides, which is a AAA team. And we used to play the Tides every year at Harbor Park. Their pitchers would throw to our hitters, so it's not like our arms were thrown against them. But we go in and we beat the Tides. And Jerry had a rule, and we had a shaving policy at Old Dominion, so you had to be clean shaven for every game. And if we won 10 or more games, then you didn't have to shave. Well, we're 14, 15, 16 games into this. And, I mean, we got dudes with, big old bushy mustaches. And, I mean, they're just having a great time with it. And, we get through March and, we're 33-6. And we're sitting 15th in the country. So that was an experience, that stretch of games. Now, unfortunately, we couldn't keep it together. The wheels kind of fell off on us there at the end, and we had some really big, heartbreaking losses. A midweek game that we were playing Virginia and Norfolk, we were up, 5-6 runs going into the fifth and ended up losing it, losing some extra inning games to a really quality UNC Wilmington team that I believe that year won the conference tournament. We played Wilmington on opening night of the conference tournament. I mean, it was like 5,000 people there, and the atmosphere was buzzing. It was a pretty cool experience. So that's one, as a season that kind of is one that kind of comes to mind. I'll say this, when I was at Young Harris, we it's right there in North Georgia, and on the other side of the state line in Southwest North Carolina, Dave Bristol. And most people may not know who Dave Bristol is. Dave Bristol was the manager of the Cincinnati Reds kind of before Sparky Anderson took over, and it was a big red machine. So Coach Bristol, coached Pete Rose and all those guys, Johnny Bench and all those guys. And I became really, really close with Coach Bristol. And he'd come to practice every day, and we'd stand out by the cages working with hitters and stuff like that. And we, just started talking, and I got a chance to meet Johnny Bench, as when I was at Old Dominion, which was really, really cool. And we just started kind of talking about that. And all of a sudden, his phone rings. So he's like, "Oh, I got to take this." And I was like, "Okay." And he steps away, and he comes back about, 10, 15 minutes later. I was like, "Oh, man, everything all right?" He's like, "Yeah, man, it was just Pete Rose on the phone." I was like, "Get out of here." He's like, "No." He's like, I talk to Pete, pretty regularly. I was like, "Man, I'd love to talk to him one day." And, picked up the phone, called him back, and me, Coach Bristol, and Pete Rose stood there for about an hour just talking hitting, and that, stuff like that, being around the game and being around some really cool people are some pretty memorable stories. Last one would probably be when I got a chance to meet Bob Gibson, the late Bob Gibson. Everybody kind of knows his intimidation factor when he's on the mound, but he couldn't have been a nicer, more humble, just a genuine human being. And, so stories like that are great. And, if you're around the game long enough, you have a lot of cool stories like that.
All right, Coach. So we got a couple other ones. We're gonna finish off with about two more like serious questions from me and Boca, and then we got a couple fun ones for you.
Sounds good.
So one of the ones that we were thinking about was, in your opinion, what makes a leader a great leader? So what are some qualities that you think, that
No,
you
that's a good one. I mean, I think first and foremost, and we've kind of talked about it within the program, and Emma, I know you and I've had some discussions specifically about this, but I think, first and foremost, a good leader is willing and humble enough to serve other people. I think that's a really, really a good, measuring stick if you're a good leader. Yeah, I mean, you can kind of go around and kind of dictate to people what you want done. Go do this, go do that, don't do this, don't do that. But until you're willing to kind of get into it with them and say, all right, this is what we're doing today. This is how we're going to do it. This is why we're going to do it. And I'm going to show you step by step the right way to do it. So ultimately you can teach somebody else. I think so. If you're willing to kind of get in the fight with, your subordinates or people that you're trying to lead, I think that's probably the biggest, for me, the biggest quality that I look for in a leader is somebody that's willing to serve the betterment of the group as opposed to the betterment of the individual.
All right, awesome.
All right, Coach. Going off that a serious question, kind of, we got another one for you. So,
All right.
in your opinion, what turns a good team into a great team, and then a great team into a championship caliber team?
Yeah. I think what takes a good team into a great team is more onto like a skill level. All right. So in my opinion, and what, Coach Robinson at Young Harris always, told our programs, and, me and Jeremy Plexico, who was our pitching coach, is, if you can't stop people from scoring runs, you can't be good. So if you can control the baseball, you can play good defense, you can pitch it, you can shorten innings, and minimize opportunities on the offensive side by being really solid defensively, then you got a chance to be a really, really great team. He was infamous for asking, because we used to have youth programs come out and use the field and we work with and stuff like that. He would always ask the younger teams, what happens to you if you're hitting and you get 3 outs? And they'd all say, well, you go play defense. And then he would be like, well, what happens if you can't get 3 outs when you're on defense? And nobody says it. It's like dead silence. And like everybody knows, it's like, it just keeps going on, because there's no clock in baseball. You either get 3 outs defensively and you go hit, or you don't. You just stand out there. So it's a lot easier to win a game 1-0, honestly, than it is to win a game that's 11-10, and it's just back and forth, offense. So really what takes a good program into being a great program is to be the ability to play a championship level defense, and then to, have a really quality, starting pitching staff. I think if you have a pitching staff that's able to go, 7-8 innings on a weekend, and you don't have to, tax your bullpen, well, yeah, you got a chance to be really, really good. College baseball isn't the big leagues. There's a reason why that guy's starting and not pitching in the bullpen. It's because he's better. So, you typically in college baseball don't get better out of the bullpen, like you can in the big leagues, and you play matchups. So if you're really good defensively and you're really good on your start and rotation, you got a chance to be a really great team. Now what takes those great teams into, teams that can win a national championship, and I think that's the culture and the commitment from the student athletes. And that's something that, is passed down from one group to the next group to the next group. I won't mention the program or the player, but, there was a really successful program a number of years ago, and they surprised a lot of people by winning a national championship. And they had a freshman that missed a lift in the morning, and it was optional. And one of their veteran guys said, "Don't ever miss an optional lift again. It may be optional for the coaching staff, but for us as the players, it's mandatory." So that type of level of commitment, goes a long way. And there's not to say that, it's so straight-laced that there's no fun, no anything, but I think when you're a program that's vying for a national championship year in and year out, not only are you talented, but the culture is such that, everybody is headed in the right direction, and they have their priorities in line, and they're able to hold each other accountable because everybody's on the same page. So those things I think are the characteristics of championship caliber, programs year in and year out is the culture and the accountability.
Sweet. All right, Coach. So one that I was thinking about for you is, so for the people that are listening that don't know, obviously you have two sons, right?
Yeah.
And they're young. So
yeah.
When they're older, right, will you make them play baseball? And if they do play baseball, would you want a pitcher catcher, middle infield combo? What position would you like them to play when they're older?
Well, I think Levi, which is the oldest, he's 3. He's a tornado, so we got to watch out to see what he's going to do. But he loves baseball. He's a left-handed hitter. I know that for certain. Every time we hit in the backyard, he stands on the left side. So he's got that in the plus column, yeah. Right? Still, the jury is still out of what hand he's going to throw with. Sometimes he does it from the right side. Sometimes he does it from the left side. I'm ambidextrous, so there are a lot of things I do left-handed. There's a lot of things I do right-handed. But my wife is all left-handed, solely left-handed. So, if he's not going to be big by any means, he's pretty lean. So I'm thinking Levi's future is going to be, a left-handed hitting, maybe speedy center fielder type thing.
Yeah.
He likes basketball. But unfortunately, I'm 5'10". My wife is 5'1.5". He's got no chance, unless he can just absolutely, let it rain out there. He's got no chance whatsoever. Remy, on the other hand, he's the youngest. He's 7 months. That dude, he's kind of built kind of stout. So the running joke in the family is, Levi's mouth is going to get him in trouble and Remy's body's going to have to get him out of trouble. So I don't know what the future holds for him. I think he's going to be a pretty, thick kid. So maybe catcher, or corner infielder like I was is something if he chooses baseball. But listen, I think, when you two are parents one day, I think you just want your kids to, whatever they do, whatever that outlet is, that they're really passionate about. Whether it's baseball, which, of course, the 3 of us are really passionate about baseball. But if you're in the business world or something like that, and you're dealing with, the stock market, well, hopefully you're really passionate about that. My brother does that. And, he gets all geeked up about it. He's got a serious passion for it. So, I think as a parent, you just want your kids to, find an outlet that is, one, constructive, and two, that they're really, really passionate about. Because if they're passionate about it, they can have some success. And really, that's what you want. For me, that's exactly what I want for them. So if it's baseball, great. Lord knows they're going to get enough opportunities being around the field. But if it's not, if it's something else, a different sport, a different outlet, as long as they're having fun, and they're passionate about it, and they're excited about whatever they're doing, I'm all in. I'm good. I know Melanie's the same way. So.
Awesome.
Is that?
We got one more.
You got one more. All right.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
So, when you were in college, did you have any pregame rituals or like anything you did like before game time?
Not really when I was in college. More so when I was in high school. Well, maybe, both. All right. I was pretty superstitious. So like when I was in high school, I was putting together a pretty good senior campaign. And I literally wore the same thing to practice every day and the same thing for every game. I'd get home from a game and it would go right into the wash. There was no switching up, a different pair of socks or a different pair of sliders or an undershirt. Nope. It was the exact same thing. And that kind of carried over to college a little bit. I think in college you have a little bit more options with your apparel, so you kind of switch it up a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I think as a player, that was one superstition that I had. When things are going good, I would do a lot of the same things, especially from like a preparation standpoint. You're going good as a hitter, you're going to do the same drills off your tee work, your front toss. When you're when you're successful on the mound, if you think Cheerios and an apple, are the recipe, you're more likely to do that. I mean, I coached with a dude at Old Dominion that literally was so superstitious in that stretch of games that we talked about. Everything he did from the time he came into the office to how he drank his coffee, he did the exact same thing every single day. So I think as athletes, we kind of get into the habit of being superstitious, and it's hard not to. But, I think rational thinkers that hopefully we are, you're like, well, I don't know if that has a whole lot to do with it. But, when things are going good, man, it's hard to switch it up. And then when things are going bad, you're looking for anything to change. So, it's always magic when it's magic. So, all right.
Well, at least you washed your clothes.
What was that?
I think he said at least you washed your clothes.
I said at least you were washing your clothes and not wearing the same things over and over again. Dirty.
No. I don't think my mom would let me walk out of the house like that. So yeah. But well, good. Well, listen. I hope everybody got a lot out of that. I think I want to thank Boca and Ammo for giving everybody some good insight with some great questions. So signing off this time, and we'll be back at you for the next round where I actually get to ask these two guys, great dudes, some questions. So thank you, gentlemen.